heck?
She goes, I woke up this morning, I didn't feel so good.
hot. It's not even an alcohol hangover, it's a candy hangover.
Well, her family, you got to see the amount of candy they sent her for Christmas.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
I
From
love
like
it.
all over the world, all her favorite stuff and everything. But you open up her pantry and it looks like a bodega from the Bellagio.
Yeah.
You know?
And then I have 2 bags in the other room I don't have room
She
for.
doesn't even have room for it.
And I mean good stuff like English fudge, licorice, all sorts. Oh, I don't feel so good.
Well, it's good you're slim.
It's
You
a good
can
thing
eat
I lost 10 pounds because now I can gain it.
Stuff more candy in there.
goodness.
That's
That's
it.
right. Exactly. More room for candy.
Yeah.
And we have my friend Ed on the board today. How you doing, Ed?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So this is my theme, 2025, the year to thrive.
Mine is 2025. Let's come alive.
Somebody said to me, 2025, the year to survive.
There you go. That probably should
I
be
was like,
mine.
nah, I don't want to look at it that way. No, I'd rather thrive.
Mhm.
Whatever. And as always, it's the first week of the month. We have Sean on the show. Sean Scott.
Always good to be here.
It's always good to be here. And we have my friend Rick Incorvia, who hasn't been on the show for a while. We're going to talk to him in the second half of the show. Because you got a lot of exciting stuff going on, Mr. Incorvia. And I can't wait to talk about it.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you later when we talk to him. So first question for you today from listeners that have sent in. What is a special needs trust and who needs it?
It's a great question. You know, the whole idea of when you're getting older and you're having some issues and you may need care in the future, one of the things that kind of can roll into your life is the need to qualify for Medicaid benefits to pay for that care. That's really good. All right. But a Medicaid benefit, if you're going to do that, you need to meet certain asset and income eligibility requirements. And a lot of times in a husband and wife scenario, you can make that work. You're allowed to have around $150,000 in assets. And that money gets moved over, let's say, into the husband's name. And the wife is going to go on benefits and everything's good. And Medicaid's paying for her care. But then the husband dies. He dies first. We weren't expecting him to die first because she's the one that's in care, right? She's the one that's sick. But he dies first. And his estate plan says everything goes to his wife.
Yeah.
That's really bad. Well, why is that bad? Because when she becomes single, Medicaid's rules say that she's only allowed to have $2,000.
2,000.
Not the 150 some thousand, right? Only 2,000. So he dies and he gives everything to her because his will says, I want everything to go to my lovely wife if I die first, which is very common. And now because he died at the wrong time, she's now disqualified for Medicaid benefits because she has too much money. That's a problem, right? So the solution to that problem is we use something called a special needs trust that acts as a stand-in kind of for the wife. So we're not going to disinherit her and give everything to the kids or wherever else. We're still going to inherit her. If he dies first, this money is now going to go to her, but air quotes, not really to her, but to her special needs trust.
Okay.
Which is now going to use those monies and those funds for her benefit for the rest of her life to augment, to take care of her, and to pay for those special things that Medicaid's not paying for, these special needs. That's where the special needs part comes into play. But the money that's in that trust, it's insulated from being counted as her money. So therefore, it doesn't disqualify her.
She can still qualify.
Correct. So it's her money, but from Medicaid's eyes, it's not her money. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get to inherit her, but she doesn't lose her benefits. And in order to do that, you have to change the estate plan for that healthier spouse, which, by the way, is one of the most overlooked issues when it comes to this whole Medicaid thing in a husband and wife scenario. They get eligible, they jump through all the hoops, Medicaid's paying, everything's double thumbs up, great. But then the healthier spouse dies first. They didn't ever think about their estate plan. Boom, there goes their eligibility. So
does everybody need a special needs trust?
Well, if you're husband and wife and one
Not
of your,
us.
Well,
We don't have any spouses.
no spouses, but it's not just for spouses, but that's the typical place that we see it. And the answer is that if one of you, husband or wife, is on benefits or going to be on benefits, then yes, you need that. Mm-hmm. But also, if you step back a little bit in the timeline and you look at a caregiver situation, we have a healthy spouse, and then we have the other one that, let's just say for the sake of discussion, has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Okay, at this part of the diagnosis in their journey, they're relatively healthy. They still are functional, and they, little memory issues, but they're still pretty okay. But we do know where this train is going to take us.
Right.
And eventually we're not going to be okay. And it's highly predictive that we're going to need care in the home, in an assisted living setting, or even in a nursing home.
Well, we're living so much longer than we ever did.
And so here's a time when you're not even thinking about necessarily Medicaid quite yet. But that's another time when I'll use a special needs trust in order to substitute in for the sick spouse. Because even though I'm not on Medicaid right now, I know it's coming. Yeah. I want to predict and be ready for it.
So how often should somebody look at their documents again? Because let's say the husband and wife did it 10 years ago and they were still both healthy.
Yep.
So is it every 5 years or is it when something medically changes?
Well, that's a great question. And so this is why it's such a big problem, is because nobody thinks about revisiting that estate plan, because their focus is on, well, she's sick and she's got Alzheimer's and I got to provide care and then we're going to pay for it. We got to jump through the Medicaid hoops, and you're really distracted and nobody's thinking about the healthier spouse dying. And, it's in some drawer somewhere. And that document was done when they were both healthy.
Right.
And that's wrong. And it absolutely needs to be addressed. So the question is, when should you do this? Anytime that there is a significant change in your circumstances in your life, somebody dies and a kid or a grandchild or a spouse or something out there, death is usually a trigger. Anytime anything else happens, a diagnosis, for example, you're going to your neurologist comes back and says, well, you have X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Okay, that's a big change. We have Parkinson's. Well, you need to reevaluate this. And ultimately, here's the easiest answer. Every 5 years, you should look at it.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, every 5 years.
Just to be on the safe side.
It's kind of like oil and tires. Every now and then, you should just, you might need a tune-up.
Yeah,
so
just want to be safe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another question said, are elder care attorneys certified? And number 2, why an elder care attorney?
Okay, well, there is a certification track that you can go through the Florida bar and be certified as an elder law attorney. That's not a bad thing. Then why an elder law attorney? Well, that's a better question. Why an elder law attorney? Well, why me versus somebody else that does estate planning, for example? Well, in my world, I'm very focused on this particular age group, and I deal with this age group all the time.
Right.
I've been dealing with them for 34 years. I have a certain kind of sensitivity and understanding, and also I have a more of
a grasp of it.
A grasp, but it's not just estate planning. It's also the issue of, well, how does public benefits come into play? What about incapacity?
What changes happen this year?
What changes happen this year? So it's a little bit, actually, it's a lot more comprehensive as far as that particular age group is concerned. So a regular estate planning attorney that does wills and trusts and that sort of thing doesn't really have any insight or clue as to what's going on the public benefits side of things. And they're intricately connected when you get older.
When the person first asked me this question, I was like, so if you have a brain tumor, are you going to the neurologist or the general practitioner?
Right. I think the specialist at some point in time is called for. Absolutely. 100%. It's a great analogy.
And this is a very important thing we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's not simple. The complexities of elder law and how it works and interfaces, it's very, very, very complicated, actually. And how it changes and how it's interpreted. And even if even in Florida, if I go from one district to another, how they deal with the rules can be significantly different.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. When it comes to elder law, especially public benefit planning like Medicaid, I swear every day I go and we're walking in the office and I'll walk by staff and we're all shaking our heads just going, man, how does anybody get through all this without somebody like us?
Yeah.
Because it's just so complicated.
Because if there's one dot wrong on the form, if there's one thing, and you and I have just talked about this before, if there's one thing that's not initialed, boom, it's worth nothing.
And here's the other part of it is unfortunately the state of Florida, and I don't mean to be mean about this necessarily, they're oftentimes not as helpful as we'd like them to be. So when you go through the application process, for example, over the last couple of years, we've seen almost a big degradation in the state of Florida's abilities to process these applications and these cases. And they've decentralized it. The people that are doing the cases, the hearing specialists, they've decentralized. They've actually just sent them home. They don't have a phone number that you can't communicate with them any longer. It's all through this call center thing. It's very, very cumbersome and ineffective. We've been on the hold with Medicaid for over 8 hours, multiple times, and they just
wow.
Just no, you can't communicate with them. An unfortunate reality that's happening now that's really, really makes me kind of angry is we have a lot of cases where they're perfect. Everything has been done right. Every document has been filed. Every criteria has been met. Everything has been shown. It's all been submitted, and they'll deny a case.
Why?
That's a good question. And you can't pick up the phone and say, hey, what's wrong with this?
What box was wrong?
What's wrong with me? I see everything that's in there. I see everything in the case. And they'll even say, over assets. You have too many assets. And I'm like, well, no, there's all the bank statements from my client. This is where all the money went. We gave you a summary. Here's all the bank statements. You can clearly see that they're below the number that they needed to be each month. What do you mean they're over assets? But you can't ask anybody what's going on. So now I have to go and appeal that decision and file an appeal, which is a huge issue. And then now it has to go to their legal department. Their lawyer gets involved. Now the judge gets involved. And all of this because I don't have a person I can call and say, did you see that we got all of those in? And it happens.
And you know what happens if someone's
month.
trying to do this on their own?
Forget it.
It's not happening.
That's what I'm saying.
If you have an 86-year-old woman taking care of an 88-year-old husband, and I just can't even be on the phone for more than 15 minutes and think straight.
And they're going to get that denial, and they're not going to know what to do with that. Now, so
they're just going to figure I'm denied.
Yeah, and now, all right. Well,
so you've been doing this for 33 years.
No, since 1990. So
okay. So how many people have denied?
For me, ultimately, in my world, ultimately 0.
There you go.
I mean, so all of my cases are successful eventually. Yeah. So,
well, you drive down the street, or you see in your little coupon book, you get in the mail, and it's people that aren't even attorneys that are saying they can do your Medicaid planning or whatever. And then you got ones that are on there that are attorneys, and they're like, I can do this, this, and this in 15 minutes. And what?
So there is a problem that I think exists, and it's called Medicaid planners. And what these people are doing, and they're not lawyers, they're not professional, they're not regulated in any way. There's no Florida bar, there's no continuing legal education issues, there's no ethical requirements, there's none of these things that are, the lawyer does have. And they will hold themselves out and say, we can do all this Medicaid planning for you. And they're going to charge you a fee to do that, which is reasonable.
A big fee from what I hear.
I understand, right? That's a fee, but
a bigger fee than you charge.
Yeah, sometimes, which is crazy. And now they're not lawyers. And the Supreme Court of Florida has actually, in a published opinion, said that Medicaid planning is the practice of law. And so now these guys are actually practicing law without a license. And you, the consumer, is the person that's at risk. Because if they screw up, they don't have a lot of recourse. You don't have a lot of recourse to deal with that issue. And another frustrating thing is there's other actual very, very specific other legal issues that need to be addressed. Incapacity planning, like your power of attorney. We were just talking about the special needs trust and the estate planning. So they're going to send you to another lawyer, to a lawyer to do that as well.
To do that, plus their fee.
So now it's double bill in a sense.
But how can they get away? I mean, you needed a license to cut my hair.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
And it's terrible because the horror stories I have heard.
Yeah,
people have been with them for years going through stuff.
They will say that they're just helping you fill out the forms. So that's a paralegal can do that. A paralegal can help you fill out a form. That's not the practice of law.
Yeah, but
advising you what form to fill out is.
Why do I want Joe Blow to help me when I can have an attorney help me?
I don't know.
Because people
are afraid it's going to be too much money.
Exactly.
Well, and the irony is it's going to cost you more, and it's not going to be as effective.
Well, it's like when I talk to people about fall prevention. They say, I don't want to spend money on this. I go, you know how much it's going to cost you if you fall?
Yep.
It's going to cost you a whole lot more money than widening that doorway or whatever.
I had that discussion with a 92-year-old this morning, one of my clients, and she had just had a fall, actually, and our discussion was, the next one could lead you into the nursing home. So this is one of the leading causes of entry into care. Is darn
the fall can be the end.
Darn gravity, So
how did she take to that?
We had a very serious talk about it, and she took to it well. She was not denying it. She was like, yeah, and like, please be careful and take it seriously. And she was really receptive, which was good.
Which is good.
Yeah, very good actually.
Which is because it's up to us.
Yeah, hell, absolutely. Yeah.
We need to plan for our future, whether it's with an elder care attorney, whether it's with a doctor, whether it's, with having home improvements in your house. Everybody wants to age in place.
I agree.
Nobody wants to go to the home. Nobody wants to go to the memory care. Now memory care is a different situation because sometimes I just think there's no way possibly you could handle that.
Well, memory care becomes a security issue at some point in time where that leave-taking behavior, and you can't keep an eye on them 100%
Yeah, because you have 10 people there that are up 24 hours.
And the next thing you know, the person's out the front door and gone.
Mm-hmm.
And
laying on the railroad tracks.
Conceivably, yeah. So the idea is that's going to be really bad. So sometimes you just can't provide the care the person needs that has memory-related issues in a home environment.
Well, it's funny. One of the gals in my support group recently, she's been talking for like 6 months now that she needs to do something with her husband. She needs to do something. And so he went into this community.
Mm-hmm.
4 hours later, he was on the road.
No way.
It wasn't a memory community. It was an assisted living, but they told her, don't worry, we're family owned. We're small. We'll watch him. You don't have to worry.
Right.
4 hours. He's down the street somewhere.
So, yep, I understand.
So now she realizes the benefits of a memory community.
Correct.
Because what could have happened to him?
Yeah, fatal.
A million terrible things could have happened to him.
Things
happened to him. I can remember one of my caregivers years ago. Her dad left he was in a assisted living.
Right.
And he left the place and he went to Kane's Furniture and he met some young girl there and he spent like $10,000 on furniture for her. That's when they took his car away.
They should have taken his card away.
Yeah,
his card.
Exactly. Well, he never wanted his car to go away. How she finally convinced him, as she explained to him, his daughter, how much he was paying for insurance and everything, because he had free transportation with the community.
Right, sure.
And that worked after he lost like the $10,000 on the furniture. But yeah, just roaming around Kane's. Who knows?
These things happen.
You never know.
For sure.
If somebody's a new caregiver, just had the diagnosis,
right?
What's the first thing you advise them to do?
Oh, that's funny. It's always a good question. We, not jokingly, but somewhat tongue-in-cheek, says is that on your way home from the neurologist, you should stop by our office.
Yeah.
We're kind of the next thing involved there. With that diagnosis, there's a very predictable path that lays ahead of you. And we need to make sure that we've checked all of our boxes, that our power of attorney is correct, that we adjust that. Again, in a husband and wife scenario, for example, both of, he names her and she names him.
Right.
Well, if he has the diagnosis, he's not a real good candidate to continue to be your power of attorney. And, not thinking about that. Pre-positioning your assets, moving them around in case the healthy spouse dies first, a special needs trust situation. And then also starting to think about, well, what's next in our caregiving journey?
Right.
And how do we support ourselves in our own home as long as possible so we can maintain that, right? And some of the programs that I work with and that help provide care for my clients, these programs are only accessible when you're healthier. And I say that not healthy, but you have some issues. But if you wait too long down the caregiving journey, that option no longer becomes an option because now you're too sick actually to get onto that program. And I'm thinking, for example, PACE. And PACE is one of my favorite programs. I work with them a lot. It's a fabulous option, and it's great for providing care in the home, great for providing care at the assisted living level, how they pay for it.
Yeah.
It's a
great package.
It's a great package, but you can't get on the PACE train, the PACE program, if you have 1 foot out the door to the assisted living facility. So you need to kind of access that program earlier on, not later on. And so when you say, when should you take action? And I say, you should see me on your way home from the neurologist. Yeah. I'm really not kidding. I mean, I'm dead serious about that. The time is now to start planning for that. Yeah. And one of the analogies I use about when to take action is the hurricane. I have a hurricane analogy. And, in the hurricane analogy is, when do you take the pool furniture off the deck? Right. I mean, and I
Yeah.
think we all approach this a little bit differently in our world. But there are some people that do it when there's a depression in the middle of the Atlantic. There's other people that do it when there's a Cat 1 over
Right.
over Cuba. There's other people that do it
When the rain
when
starts.
they're in the cone.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that take the furniture off when it's blowing 80 miles an hour sideways. Okay. So, where are you at in your journey? I don't want you to be the 80 mile an hour sideways guy. And I think if you're in the cone, so to speak, and I think we know what that means, is that there's, it's predictable
Things are
that
happening.
it could, maybe not, but it's more likely than not. You got to take action. And when you have a diagnosis, that's you in the cone.
And you know what? You have enough to deal with when you have a diagnosis. If you can get your documents straight, you have so much more peace of mind. Right, Rick?
Right. And also this whole caregiving thing. I mean, here you're oh my gosh, my wife now has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. What does this mean to me? I'm definitely freaking out a little bit. How am I going to pay for it? What's this going to mean? What's
How
this
long is she going to live?
all
What's
of these
gonna
questions, and then I realize it's going to cost me, if she goes into memory care, that's $7,000 a month at least.
At least.
If she goes into long-term care in a nursing home situation, $10,000 to $12,000 a month. And so, coming to somebody like me and with an elder law attorney can take all of those fears and really set them aside, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Where I'm going to be or what's
What are you
going to
waiting
happen
for?
to me.
You want to wait till you're knocking on the door of the nursing home, or can we get this out of the way now?
Yeah. And you know what? This is the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Have the conversation with your family. You saw your family over the holidays, hopefully.
Yeah.
And, or maybe not. hopefully.
Perhaps went to Egypt or something.
But, I'm sure there are many people that listen to the show that saw their loved ones during the holiday and realized, they're aging. Things are not, like they were before. So let's have this conversation now.
Yep.
Because
my
you
God,
don't
Dad,
have to.
Wow. What happened to you?
Yeah.
Last year happened to me.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
100%.
Because, especially with Florida, there are a lot of people that, they came here for the land of opportunity and their kids are in New York, Pennsylvania, wherever the heck they are. And they don't know what's going on because when they talk to mom, she's like, everything's wonderful, dear. We're all good. She doesn't tell you.
Mom, we're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing
She doesn't
good.
tell you she fell down last week and her whole leg is black and blue and that dad didn't poo in 4 days.
Yeah.
So,
do with it.
How do you get them to open up to that, Linda?
well, first of all, I think if you haven't seen your family for the holidays, you need to go see them. And you need to go see them unexpected, not expected. Because if you tell mom and dad that you're coming to visit, they're going to put some food in the refrigerator. They might get the cleaning girl in.
My mother used to take her
right?
car in to get the tires, everything done.
Yeah. You want to get everything done. And even if they have some impairment, they can fake it. They're really good at faking it. So for like 2 days, they can fake it. But if you go unexpected and you stay there like a week,
At least a week.
yeah, you're definitely going to know what's going on. And then it's time for the conversation. But let's have the conversation before that. Let's have the conversation where mom and dad are still healthy.
And how do you start that conversation?
Well, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Mom, Dad, I think we need to do a little checkup on your legal documents. And I know a guy that deals with older people in law, and
Don't say older people.
people just like you, Mom.
There you go. I don't like you that older.
More aged,
Yeah. Refined.
refined. Oh, that's
Yes.
good. No, but in all seriousness, doing a kind of a checkup type situation with an elder law attorney, because now you're going to be in my office and we're going to have a forum and we're going to be looking at these documents, and it can be sometimes with me kind of leading the discussion. Okay, well, these are great. Well, what about care? What are we doing in the future? Have you guys thought about any of that? Is there anything going on? And then we can, here's, what will happen in the future and what we can do. And so it's just planting a kind of a seed. And it's a good way to have that discussion is in my conference room.
And I think, and saying to your parents, I love you to death and I want to be able to take care of you and I want you to be able to take care of yourself too. And if I don't know what's going on, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a professional that knows what's going on, because mom, dad, the laws change every year. This changes, that changes. So for Christmas this year, for my birthday, would you just go to see Sean with me?
For my birthday.
You know?
And we got
Would you-
cake. We got cake.
Yeah. But really. All right. Well, thanks. Right now, it's time to hear from our wonderful partners. So don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Are you getting older, or are you taking care of somebody who is? You know, getting older creates new problems you probably never imagined. One of the big ones is, how do you pay for care? Care in your home, care in an assisted living facility, or care in a nursing home. Did you know that nursing home care in our community can cost up to $12,000 per month? For the last 33 years, our offices help families access benefits, including Medicaid, VA, and PACE, to help pay for the cost of long-term care. Regardless of what your assets are or what your income is, you can qualify for these benefits. Proper planning and guidance are absolutely necessary to avoid being wiped out. Let us help. If you are in care or heading in that direction, we can help solve that problem. Take action now to obtain benefits to pay for the cost of care. Here are the 4 things that you need to do. 1, get a new power of attorney. Your old one probably isn't good enough. Get a healthcare surrogate and a living will. 3, get an estate plan that will not disqualify you from benefits. And 4, get a plan to qualify for Medicaid, PACE, or VA benefits to pay for the long-term care costs. Call us today for a free consultation, 727-539-0181, or go to flmedicaid.com and download our free book on Medicaid and planning for long-term care. I'm Sean Scott. I'm here to help.
My mom was getting older, but she was able to live pretty independently until recently. When her case manager told me she would be discharged from rehab in just a few days, I didn't know what to do. But I knew for sure that she couldn't go back living alone at home. So that's when I contacted Sunway's Senior Living Concierge. My Senior Living Concierge, Lisa, was there for me through the whole process and was a free service for us to compare in-home care options and how that cost would compare to assisted living. With Lisa's help, we found a great new home for Mom, and she is thriving. Take it from me, don't go through this journey alone.
Hi, I'm Ellie Baldwin, co-founder and president of Sunway's Senior Living Concierge. We're a free placement and concierge service for families to help compare senior living communities and find the best place for you or a loved one. Call us today at 727-314-6451 or find us online at sunwayseniorliving.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. You know, I always love it when Sean's on the show. He answers so many questions. I had a couple of people that talked to me this week and said they wanted to call in with a question. I don't know why people are afraid to do that. It's so easy.
Tell us about our listeners.
Oh, yeah. I didn't say hello to our newest listeners. We have Phil in Clearwater, Dolores in Tampa, and Mindy in St. Pete.
Welcome.
And like I always say, there's plenty of room around the Connecting Caregivers table for new listeners, whether you listen live on the show on Facebook or YouTube or my website or wherever. We're just here to help.
She's everywhere.
To give you help and hope. It's kind of scary sometimes.
If you Google her, it's like, you should Google me.
Nothing.
Zip.
Well, even on Facebook, you don't have a real name.
No.
Because she's a voyeur. She just wants to see what everybody else is doing.
Strictly cash, no card.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
she's
knowing
a
what
spy.
I'm up to.
I think she's a spy.
I think she could be a good character for one of your books, actually.
Ooh.
So I met Rick, I'm thinking it's like 8 years ago now or something like that. And we met as authors.
We read each other's books.
Yeah. And I was like making new friends, and we chatted and everything. And then I met his mother, Rose, and I fell in love with her, and we spent a lot of time together. But Rick's books just always charged me up. I loved them. I loved them. I loved them. I loved them.
Thank you.
And I'm always waiting for the next one.
Yes.
I'm like, when's the next one? When's the
You get
next
it
one?
before the final copy's complete.
Yeah, he's like, don't tell anybody.
Right.
I won't. His last one, 2 books ago, was All I Ever Wanted.
Everything I ever wanted.
Everything I Ever Wanted.
Yes.
And that book was very interesting because that book was Rick was in an accident. He had amnesia.
Yes.
You tell us that.
Well, I just spent a lot of time with my 99-year-old mother who had just...
At the memory community.
At the memory community. So I was with so many brilliant people there that were surgeons, lawyers, attorneys.
Right.
But they no longer remembered who they were 90% of the time.
Right.
So they'd have brief moments. And I just, it was just so interesting to see. Interesting
You
is
get
not the
sucked
real
into
right
it.
word, but to see them, you put a guitar in a certain man's hands, and he all of a sudden, he was jamming it. Look at it, and then the next minute, he can't eat a cookie by himself, and it just really grabbed me. And I wondered, what would I be like years from now if I had
dementia, Alzheimer's, or amnesia?
So, I mean, I in the book I referred to it as a car crash, and I had amnesia, but it was really that ghost that's always over my shoulder since it runs in the family. I'm dementia. I call it the dementia ghost. So I just imagined waking up one day and I no longer knew who I was. I meet my wife, my children, all
your ex-wives
for the first time, a couple of ex-wives. And
at one point in the book, he's in the hospital and they come in with different name badges on. Wife number 1, wife number 2.
That was wife number 3's idea to have all the name tags on. It was very helpful to know who I was talking to when they walked in.
Yeah.
You're my daughter. And it was just so much fun. And to do it, I actually called the grandkids and told them the scenario and said, okay, you're coming to visit me. I don't remember who you are. What stories are you going to tell me to try and help me remember? Yeah. And the things they came up with brought me to tears. Just the things that they remembered. I remember Grandpa.
That they never would have said to you before.
Right. They told me about the time when we did buried treasure. I pulled a picture off the wall and pretended I found a treasure map. And I way before they showed up, I had all kinds of things stepped off and a place where they could dig, and I had treasure buried there. And so they just remembered so many neat things from when we were growing up. It was a book that really touched me. And
well, it probably touched them too, and they learned more about you.
And they're in a book. They thought that was cool.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you're in there too. You sure are.
All right. But then we have this other series of books.
It's quite different.
With this woman,
worry about being
Gwen.
on this show.
Yeah.
Talking about this.
But I think that everybody, caregivers, you need a little time for escape. You need a little time to get away from it.
I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't read.
Yeah, you need a little time to just take a break. And it doesn't take days and days and days to read his books.
Right.
And I think if you give yourself that time, you're going to find some true pleasure.
Yes, this is not tips on caregiving.
No.
This is Gwen Apollo, who has intermittent explosive disorder. And I think most of us have met a Gwen. Most of us run from Gwen. But Gwen is a woman who, the person that that is everything's going fine, and you accidentally say one little thing that triggers them, and they just go off. And it's everything from breaking things, tipping plates, anger.
Planning murder.
And 5 minutes later, it's, I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. I took it a little bit further with Gwen. Gwen accidentally commits murder, and then you're covering a murder. It just gets completely out of control. But I'm on the 3rd series because people keep asking.
All right. So the
Gwen.
First book was
The Wrong Side of the Glass.
Wrong Side of the Glass.
And it's called that because it's very ironic that she goes to see her husband, who is in jail for her crimes. He ends up, she finds something that he did.
Poor guy.
He's poor Eddie.
Yeah.
And Eddie ends up in jail for her murders. And so she goes to visit him all the time from the other side of the glass. And
so that's the first one.
First one. Second
and
one.
I was in love immediately.
Yeah, boy, what a character.
Oh my God. She's scary.
She's scary. Second one is Toe the Line, and that one is brings in a different character for the first part of it. He's a real person, somebody I met. Do I have time to tell the story?
Yes. So interesting.
I went to a place, I'm going to call it Piper's Garage. I went there to take my car in for service, and one of the people there knows me, and he hands over one of my other books, Bobby's Cabin.
Okay.
And he said, hey, do you have a copy with you? And the guy who was there said, oh my God, I read that book. It's great. Have you ever read it? And I said, I wrote it. And he was just in
Small
awe.
world.
And he's an autistic mechanic. Brilliant. He could fix anything, but for fun, he tears through manuals, eating his little peanut butter and jelly sandwich, ripping through manuals. He could fix anything. But when he gets on something, he's locked on it.
Mm.
He's the kind of guy who knows how many times the windshield wiper went, before it turns back off. And just so many different things going on in the step, how many steps you've taken. And he's real. He said, you should write a book about an autistic person who's a serial killer. And
you're like, wow.
I said, well, I wasn't sure at first. Then I said, well, let me take you to lunch next week. We'll talk. I took him to lunch. It was so interesting to watch him line up every little thing and how certain bites had to be certain ways. The table had to be set up. It was just amazing to watch him.
And he was willing to share that with you. That's a big deal.
Yes, he was. And it was amazing. And at one point he said, you're not taking notes. And he couldn't look me in the eye. He was very, look around, all around. And then I just started studying and watching movies and learning more and more and more about autism. I knew I had to make this good because my editor has an autistic son.
Oh, goodness.
So I think I did a good job.
You did a great job.
Thank you. And so now he ends up with his, he puts trackers in the tow truck so he could monitor where they are all the time. Then he starts putting them into other people's cars. He starts monitoring women's cars, and he just gets a kick out of seeing, who's at the same stoplight at the same time. These people don't know each other. It's so interesting. To try not to make this too long.
And not to stalk them or anything, just the interest of it.
No, just the interest of the whole thing. But then he finds two people at the same place at the same time where a man has been disappeared, we'll just say. This is so hard not to give too much away.
Right.
But anyway, he ends up going further to see who this lady is, and he ends up stalking Gwen Apollo. What a mistake.
Oh, my God.
She has state-of-the-art surveillance, and she sees him, notices him, and next thing you know, he's chained up in a bedroom as a slave. And it takes him about a week to win her over because he didn't mind being there.
But he does.
He enjoys it there, and she gives him books. She misses her son, who will no longer deal with her. And growing up, they used to read books together all the time. Now here's Paxton in her place saying, can I have some books? Or you said you'd feed me. He's just this very simple guy enjoying stuff, and she's just getting a kick out of him. And next thing
what did he say after the book? After you wrote the book, what was his feeling about it? He
was in awe. He was showing people everywhere. Look, this is me. This is about me. Because I changed the name because his real name is. Let's stay away from that. But I changed the name. But he was reading it to people. Okay, look, this is me. This is me. And I'm sure some of them were saying, "Sure, it is, pal." But it really is him. And just some interesting things about him. His mother died at birth. His father shot himself the same night.
Oh. God.
He was shipped off to Germany to be brought up by a deaf uncle. Yeah. So here he is by age, 5 years old, still grunting out words. He didn't understand the language well. He became too much of a problem, and he got shipped back to the United States, where he got put into, group homes where he was abused for real. And at some point, he just gets so angry and loses it. He got locked in rooms with books, and that's where he became antisocial and a real bookworm. And his love for reading started there. But this, you almost can't make this up.
Right.
This is a real person, and yet here he is, a brilliant, successful man. His best years of his life, he said, with 2 years as a garbage man. I did it. The truck broke down one day, and I walked it back to the office, about 6 hours later, and said, "You owe me $280. The truck broke down, and I fixed it, and I had for parts." And he ended up getting fired from that job. I think it was some guy on the city council was running down the street with his garbage can, and he didn't stop for him.
Oh God!
He said, "What were you thinking?" He said, "I was thinking that you wish you had it down the driveway."
You're supposed to have it.
Yeah. And next thing you know, he's working at this. I'm going to call it Piper's Garage, and just such an
what a good job for him, though.
Yes.
And no marriage or anything.
No marriage, and that. Oh, did I mention he has one eye? I forgot to tell you that. He was trying to help somebody who was in a car accident, let him in his house. This guy had been drinking, and the next thing you know, this guy's yelling into the phone, and if autistic people don't like that.
Yeah.
So he stop yelling. And he got so upset, and next thing you know, he's reaching for the phone to take it out of the guy's hand. Guy busts a bottle and jams it in his eye.
Yeah.
So this is true story. This is real.
Yeah.
So here he is. He's a one-eyed man. And in the book, I decided that he would go get a dog. And he finds himself a one-eyed dog. So here he is. Paxton is with Rigetti, like spaghetti.
Yeah, I love that name.
His dog. And they are just such a great team. And the first one he's kidnapped. I'm sorry. I got to go too
So enough
far.
of that book. And now we're on number 3.
Number 3 is
What's
Chasing
the title?
Gwen. Chasing Gwen. We're finally trying to catch up with Gwen. The FBI is all over her. Police. Too many things are happening too fast, and they figure out it's all happening in this 5-10 mile radius. The FBI are smart, and they're closing in on her. She takes off with Paxton.
She's smart.
To Eastern Europe, and she's heading down the Danube River.
Oh, goodness.
And by the time they figure out, she's just so brilliant. She's always one step ahead of them. I'm having so much fun with it.
So when is that book going to be out?
Well, it was going to be out last week, but then I got approached by somebody who said, let's turn this into a series. And I'm so excited about that. He read the 3rd book and he said, no. You made Gwen way too nice in the 3rd book.
Oh, really?
I thought, let's
She's
make her a little
pretty
more
scary.
human. She's pretty scary, but I thought it was time for
to find the human
Eddie
side. He said
find
no.
the human side, and he said, not if you want a season 4. So she is just out of control. She has a couple.
Paxton's still with her.
Paxton is still with her. They split up a little bit. They get separated for quite a while, and she goes a bit off the rail. He goes a little off the rail, but at least he has his dog. And
So now you just finished this book.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you already thinking of the next one with her? Or what happens? I mean, how do you just keep finding more fodder for another?
Because now I feel like I know her. I mean, I've been dealing with Gwen for so long. I created her. And
I love series.
Everything in a woman that scares me. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's strong. She does not like
sneaky.
to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
No. And
She's slick.
I just find her so interesting that it pours out of me. You hear people talk about writer's block. I can't keep up. It just keeps going. I just added 20,000 words to the last book, the one that I sent you before. He said, "Don't you send that in? There's more to do." And he's no names yet, but he's brilliant. And I'm so impressed with the things he wanted me to add with the book. I thought, oh, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, sometimes you need somebody to collaborate with you because we get stuck in our own thing, and it's just my thing, and I can do it. But then as you get bigger, and you meet more people, and you're going like to the next level.
Yep.
I think it's just so fabulous. So fabulous. I love all your books. How many are there now? 10? 10 books.
Wow.
And you can find them on Amazon at Rick Incorvia or at his website, rickincorvia.com.
authorrickincorvia.com.
authorrickincorvia.com. And I suggest that you go there because the series is one thing. The rest, they're different in some ways, but the same. Like I love Bobby's Cabin. I love The Travelers.
Yes.
So
if you go to the website, you'll see a little blurb on every one of them. They're so different. People can't seem to put me into a book genre yet. So just read the blurb about each one. I'm sure there's one in your flavor.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely check it out. I've enjoyed every book. I continue. I want you to keep writing more and more
Read them
books.
all?
Yeah. I have them all. I was going to bring 1 or 2 with me, but then what happens is people come over and I brag about it and they borrow my book and they never bring it back.
The nerve.
The nerve of them. The nerve of them. But yeah, I'm very excited about everything that's happening for you in the future. It's really good stuff.
And it's starting to go real fast and
Fast and Furious.
But I'm loving it. It beats the hell out of. I thought something was going to happen here. It's usually what I have to do is keep helping somebody move along. Can we move it along? But now I just keep getting emails and texts. We need to add this to the series. Don't forget about this. Here's what we have to do next. And here's who's going to play this. And the music is already picked. And
sometimes you just need a guy.
Real.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
I still want to know who's going to play Gwen.
We'll see.
She's scary.
Yeah.
She's scary. Oh my goodness. So once again, where can they find your books?
authorrickincorvia.com or go on Amazon. They're all available in
print and audible.
Ebook.
Everywhere we can get it, we're doing it.
Yes.
We're doing it. I've just started listening to a new book yesterday. It's Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Good.
It is so good. It's just that,
Let Them.
Excuse me. How many times we worry about stuff, what somebody else is thinking or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, just let them. let them. And you got to check it out.
Okay.
Really interesting.
You always send me good books.
Yeah, I try to. Well, now it's time to hear from our wonderful sponsors, so don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important choice to make. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week, so check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
We believe the power of the human body and mind can do amazing things, and that tapping into that power, not just tricking it with a temporary disguise, is possible. Superpatch technology uses a special pattern and vibrotactile technology to help you go from feeling blah to hurrah. Now, once the Superpatch is in contact with your skin, it triggers a neutral response in the brainstem that helps you tackle your daily problems head on. Whether you're struggling with pain, balance, stress, or focus, we have a solution that might be right for you. With Superpatch's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Hi, this is Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. I started using the Liberty Patch over 3 years ago. I used to be a tripper, but since wearing the Liberty Patch, I haven't tripped once. The Liberty Patch is proven to reduce the risk of falling by up to 8 times. And as we all know, if you prevent the fall, you prevent the call. Don't wait until it's too late. Preventative solutions are the answer.
Superpatch does not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure illness. Superpatch is FDA registered. To receive 25% off your first order, go to sticktoit.info. That's sticktoit.info and learn more.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. So, Rick, what's the last thing you would like our listeners to hear today?
I would just like them to start reading the books and get a feel for what I write about, because it isn't any one thing. It's what is in my head, in my heart, that I just can't seem to shut up about. It won't stay out of my head. I don't even turn on a radio in my car anymore.
Really?
Because
your mind is just going.
Right now. It's crazy. It's way too much.
Scary.
It's scary. But it's always going. I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife sees, looks at the clock and says, "Really? 3 o'clock?" And I'm like, I can't sleep anymore.
Yeah.
So I get up, and from
you're productive.
3 to 7, I'm writing.
Yeah. I used to, when I did my writing, was at dawn hours.
Yeah.
When no one else is around, everything's really quiet. There's no phones, there's no nothing. It's just, you hear the birds, and it's just fabulous. Well, thanks so much for being with me today. It's been a long time. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for the invite.
So glad you're here. So remember, everybody needs a caregiver support group. Yesterday I had a journaling workshop. Today I had a support group online. Next week I have a live support group at Arden Courts in Seminole. Do something for yourself for New Year's. Get into a support group. I promise you, you will find the benefit of it. You might just find out about a resource. You might just find out about a tip. You're just going to find out that you're not alone. You're going to be with people that are in the same boat as you are. And there are so many people that come back to my support groups after their loved one passes. They keep coming back because they want to share what they've learned. And they want to help you. And it's easier when you're speaking with someone that has in the same boat as you. I know it's really hard when you have someone that in your family that has Alzheimer's and dementia. Nobody knows about it and nobody understands about it. People can be judgmental. People can think, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not such a big deal. and it can be very hurtful. Caregiving can be a really tough journey. So I want you to keep listening to the show, come into the conferences, and please come to the support groups. And not just my support groups. If you go on my website and you go to the calendar under events, you'll see other people's support groups, because I'm not the only girl on the block. I don't need to be the only girl on the block.
You're just the best.
Thank you. But you'll see ones that are live. You'll see ones that are via Zoom. Zoom was a gift of COVID as far as I'm concerned, because I have people in my support groups now from all over the United States and Canada.
And Egypt, maybe.
It may be. You never know. In fact, I just, one of the people in my support group, it's her 75th birthday in July, and me and two of the other caregivers are going to Seattle, Washington to her birthday party.
What were you doing last week?
What was I doing last week? New York or Egypt?
Egypt.
Yeah, so a month ago, maybe it's a couple weeks ago, I went to Egypt with my daughter. 12 days with my daughter.
Yeah.
4 days cruising down the Nile River, but I actually got to go paragliding over the pyramids.
Paragliding over the pyramids?
Yeah.
Who does that?
The day after my 71st birthday.
Wow.
So I was very happy about it. I'll tell you though, when we first went up, my whole body was just like so rigid.
Like that.
And I'm like, Linda, just relax. So I would relax and I'd just go into the seat, and then 10 seconds later, and then I'm like, Linda, relax or you're going to miss the experience.
Right.
And then finally I just let myself go, and we were good.
I couldn't believe it
And I
when you
felt
texted
good.
me that.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
It was exciting. So I know Ed's just nodding his head in there. So tune in next week for another great show. Remember, God loves you all the time, and have a delicious day.